Hello everyone. Welcome to another lecture on reasoning ability and problem solving. In today's lecture, we will discuss previous year questions that come in your SSC exams for analogy. In the last few lectures, we discussed that there are 6 types of questions that can be asked from analogy. Number 1 was semantic, also known as logic-based analogy. Then we discussed number analogy questions. Then we discussed letter, or also known as alphabet analogy questions. Then we studied about object or shape based analogy questions. Then we discussed about classification, also known as group, or also can be called category based analogy questions. And lastly, we discussed function or role based analogy questions. So these were all the 6 types of questions that can be asked. In today's lecture, we will do previous year questions from analogy that came in SSC. So let us start with this question. This came in SSC CGL 2019-20. This was the year in this which question came. So the question states that we have to select an option in which the third word is related to in the same way, option that is related to the third word in the same way as the second word is related to the first word. So in analogy, I told you that we have pairs, right? So this is the first pair and this is the second pair. So in certain way, this word is related to this word and we have to find the missing element which is related to this word in the same way. So we solve questions of analogy in 2 steps. First, identifying the relationship between the first pair, and second, using the same relationship in the next pair. So over here you can see that medicine cures disease. Similarly, food can cure hunger. So our answer will be option number 1, hunger. So you can see over here, this is the solution. Medicine is used by a diseased person. Similarly, food is used by a hungry person. Now, 12, this is pair 1, this is pair 2, and this is pair 3. So we are given 2 pairs in which it is completed, and we have to find the missing element in this second pair. Right? So somehow 72 is related to 12 and somehow 242 is related to 22, and we have to find out the answer. Now I told you to remember squares of 1 to 30 because these come in very handy whenever we solve questions of analogy, right? So in this question, the logic used is very simple. If you know 12 square is 144, and if I divide 144 by 2, I'll get 72. Let us check if this is the same logic used in this also. So 22 square is 484. And if I divide 484 by 2, I'll get 242. So the same logic is used over here and the same logic is used over here. So we'll use the same logic for this as well. So 18 square is 324, and if I divide 324 by 2, I'll get 162. So 162 is in option number 1. So our correct answer will be option number 1, 162. So this is the reason I told you to remember squares of at least 30 numbers, first 30 numbers, because if you knew the square, you could easily see that 72 is half of 144. And when I found this out, I used the same logic to check from pair number 3. And then I found the answer for pair number 2. So this is the reason why remembering the squares and the cubes is very important for reasoning. Now, this is the next question. Select the option which shares the same relationship as clock and time share with each other. So a clock is used to show time. Clock is an instrument which can measure time. Similarly, if you know, anemometer is an instrument which can measure wind speed. Similarly, piezometer is an instrument which can measure strains, and balance is an instrument which can measure mass, or you can also say weight, right? Ammeter is an instrument which can measure current. Here, the answer number 1, which is ammeter and current, this will be the correct answer because it shares the same relationship as time shares with clock. So, clock is an instrument that is used to measure time. Similarly, ammeter is an instrument which is used to measure current. Here you can see clock is a device used to measure time. Similarly, ammeter is used to measure the current. Now, this question. 35 is somehow related to 66 and we have to find out how 29 is related to this missing element. So here I can see if I multiply it by 2, I'll get 70, right? But this is 66. So maybe if I find the difference, 66 minus 35, this will give me 31. So if I add 31 to 35, I'll get 66. So let us check for 29. If I add 31 into 29, I'll get 60. Do we have 60 as an option? Yes. So option number 3, 60 will be the correct answer to this question. This was a question of number analogy. So here you can see we are simply adding 31 to this element to find the next element. So simply same over here. We are adding just 31. Okay. Now let us move on to question number 5. Select the word pair in which two words are related in the same way as the two words in the following word pair. So we have to first find the relationship between this pair, and same relationship we have to find out over here. So this is a question of object shape analogy. This is a concept of object and shape analogy. So in object and shape analogy, we studied a concept of the number of sides and what is the corresponding figure called. So I can see that a pentagon has how many sides? 5, which is written over here, right? Similarly, a septagon. How many sides does a septagon has? First of all, it should be heptagon. Septagon is not a word. So I can clearly eliminate this option. Then triangle has 3 sides and rectangle has 4 sides and square also has 4 sides. But here is the trick. Over here we have number of sides and then the second element is the corresponding figure, right? We have number of sides and the corresponding figure. So over here, this is the corresponding figure and this is the number of sides. So this has inverted. Similarly, this is the corresponding figure and this is the number of sides. So again, the sequence is inverted. Only in this, first we have number of sides and then we have the corresponding figure. So answer will be option number 1 for rectangle. So let me revise how did we get this answer. So in this question, the correct sequence is number of sides and the corresponding figure. This we found out with this pair given in the question, right? This is a figure with 5 sides and this is number of sides, right? If we look at option number 4, heptagon, also known as septagon, it is the same word, right? It has 7 sides. And over here we only have 6. So we can clearly eliminate this option. Then over here, the sequence is wrong. Over here, the number of sides is written later. So again, we can eliminate this. And over here, same thing. The number of sides is written later. So we can eliminate this. Therefore, the answer will be option number 1, which is 4 rectangle, because it follows the same sequence and it is also logically correct. So we have to check both the things. Is it logically correct? And it follows the same sequence. Sequence is also important when it comes to analogy, because we have to find if we have 4 elements, right? This is the first analogy and this is the second analogy. So we have to find how the second word is related to the first element. So if the second element is missing, we have to find the exact same relationship as to how it is in relation with this particular element. Now, question number 6. We have to select the option that is related to the third term in the same way as the second term is related to the first term. So it is very clearly given in the question itself. So red is a type of color. Similarly, out of all the four options, lawyer is a type of profession. So our correct answer will be option number 2, lawyer. Now, this is a question of letter, also known as alphabet analogy. Now, we have to select the option in which the letters share the same relationship as that is shared by the given pair of letters. So first we have to find the relationship between this pair. If you remember forward ranks, I told you a concept of forward rank and backward rank and opposite letters and looping. All these concepts were studied in alphanumeric series and coding decoding as well, and even in analogy we revised. So J is positioned at 10 and T is positioned at 20. So again I told you a shortcut called AJOT, by which you can remember the corresponding forward rank. So J is 10, T is 20. Similarly, N is how much? N is 14 and X is 24. So if I write them like this, I can clearly see that both of these are moving 4 positions forward. So we have to find an option which moves 4 position forward. So let us look at the first option, TP and XT. So T we know has 20th position. Similarly, P we know has 16th position. And X we know have how much? 24th position. So here we are moving 4 positions forward. Here also we are moving 4 positions forward. So this particular option follows the same logic. Hence our answer will be TP is to XT. Now in examination, sometimes just solving the first option will give you the correct answer. So in that case, just check it with some other random option and then mark your answer. You don't have to solve all these 4 to get at the correct answer. But let's say if there was a fifth option called none of these, or if there was a option called all of these, right? Then in that case you would have to solve all the 4 options. So just look at the option. If you can eliminate as many options as you can in the first step itself, well and good. But just check. If this option is not mentioned, then you can just tick mark 1 and move ahead. So here you can say from J to N, from T to X. So we are moving 4 positions forward. Now, 34 is somehow related to 210, and we have to find an option which is related to this number in the same way. I can see that this is almost 6 times more. So if you know the table of 30, 6 times will be 180, right? And this is 34. If you see 40, 6 times will be 240. So it is somewhere in between. So I can say this is moving maybe 6 times more. So let me check. If I multiply 34 by 6, I'll get how much? 204, right? And if I add 6 into this, I'll get 210. So here I can see very clearly see that 2 operations are used. First we are multiplying by 6 and then we are adding by 6. So we have to find a number which follows the same logic. So if I multiply 47 by 6, right? If I multiply 47 by 6, I'll get 282. So, and I have to add 6 into this as well. If I add 6 into this, I'll get 288. So this does not follow. Similarly for here, let me check. If I multiply 6 into 66, I'll get 396. And if I add 6, I'll get 402. So option number 2 will be the correct answer because it follows the same logic of multiplying it by 6 and adding it by 6. Okay. Now let us look at this question. Handwriting is somehow relating to graphology and we have to find which of the following options pairs the same logic. So this is semantic analogy. Now, if you know, graphology is basically the study of handwriting. Similarly, pedology is the study of soil. So this option is wrong. Pomology is the study of fruits, or you can say their cultivation. So this option is also wrong. Ornithology is basically the study of birds. So this option is also wrong. But here you can see that physics is the study of matter. Hence, option number 3 will be the correct answer. So because it bears the same relationship, matter and physics bears the same relationship that is between handwriting and graphology. Now, nascent is to young as adjunct is to what? So, nascent is the synonym word for young. So if you remember, I told you that two words you have to remember. First was synonym and then it was antonym. Synonym means similar in meaning, and antonym means opposite in meaning. So over here, nascent and young, both of them are synonyms. Similarly, the synonym for adjunct will be supportive. So our answer will be option number 2, supportive. Both of these words are synonyms. That means both of these words are similar in meaning. So these two things you also have to remember for analogy. So here you can see the solution. Nascent is the synonym of young. Similarly, adjunct is the synonym of supportive. Now, question number 11. This is a question again of number analogy. In this question, 3 pairs are given. Pair number 1, pair number 2 and pair number 3. Pair number 1 and pair number 2 is solved for us and we have to find pair number 3. Now, if you remember, I told you squares, right? So here I know that 11 square is how much? 121. And this is 6 more than 11 square. So maybe the logic is 11 square plus 6, which will mean 121 plus 6 will give us 127. So this is what I can figure out with pair number 1. But then I have to recheck it with pair number 3. So if you know, if I add 6 into 19 square, 19 square is how much? 19 square is 361. So if I add 6 in 361, I'll get 367. So this also follows the same logic. First we are squaring the number and then we are adding 6 into it. So let us do the same thing for 16. 16 square plus 6. So 16 square is 256. 256, if we add 6 into this, we'll get 262. So 262 will be the correct answer, which is option number 1. So option number 1 will be the correct answer. So in this particular question, we again used two operations. First, we squared the number and then we added 6 into this. So here, 8 operations were done on 11, operations were done on 19. So here also we'll do the same operation on 16, that is squaring it and then adding it by 6, and we'll get the answer as 262. This is the answer. Option number 1. So here you can see clearly squaring and then adding 6. Similarly, we did the same thing for 16 as well. Now, east is related to direction in the same way as summer is related to, we have to find out the missing element. This is a question of semantic analogy. Or you can also say that this is somehow a question of function analogy, but no, most commonly this will be a semantic or a logical analogy only. So we know that east is a type of direction, right? So we would have to use the same logic. Type of is a type of, this is the logic that is used in the first analogy. So we would have to use the same logic. So I would use the same logic. Summer is a type of what? Summer is a type of season. So on using the same logic, we get the answer option number 3, season. Even though summer is associated with temperature, room cooler, heat, season, everything, all these 4 options are associated with summer in some or the other way. But we have to follow the same logic that is used in the first analogy. So first analogy was east is to direction, and we had to find out how summer is related to this term. So in question, either you can get this spelled out or you can get this in an equation form. So either of the two forms you can get it. But this is also a question of analogy. Now, this is a question again of alphabet analogy, also known as letter analogy. So I told you that each of these individually will be treated as separate series. So we have to write A, Z, W, and below this I'll write G, F, and C. Now A is 1, this is 26, and W is how much? W is 23, C is 3, F is 6, and G is how much? G is 7, right? Now, here I can see we are going 6 positions forward. From Z, X, let me write it this way. Okay. From Z, if we are going till F, that means we are going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 positions forward. So this is the concept of looping, as I told you. From W, if we are going to C, we are moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions forward. So here also we are going 6 positions forward. So in each of these elements, we have to move 6 positions forward. So we'll use the same logic for LSM. So let me write it over here, LSM, and L is coded as how much? L is coded as 12. Similarly, S is coded as 19 and M is coded as 13. So we have to move 6 positions forward. So if I move 6 positions forward, I'll get 18, I'll get 25, and I'll get 19. So at 18th position, we have R, at 25th position, we have Y, and at 19th position, we have S. So my code will be RYS, which is option number 4. So option number 4 will be the correct answer. Now, this is question number 14. We have to find out how all of these words, out of all of these words, which bears the same relationship between, just as between astronomy and stars. So if you know, astronomy is the study of stars, right? Similarly, philology, this is the study of history of language. Similarly, seismology is the study of earthquakes. This option is eliminated and this option is eliminated, right? Then, psychology, this is the study of human brain, or you can write study of mind. Therefore, this option is also eliminated. Now, numismatics is the study of coins and currency. Numismatics is the only branch which is the study of coins and currency. So therefore our answer will be option number 4, numismatics is to coins. So this bears the same relationship as between astronomy and stars. Now, tired is to exhausted, in the same way sad is to what? So you can say that tired and exhausted are what? Both of these are synonyms. I told you the concept of synonyms and antonyms. Both of these are synonyms, tired and exhausted. Similarly, the synonym for sad will be depressed. So sad and depressed, both of these will be synonyms, right? Therefore, our answer will be depressed, which is option number 1. So here you can see clearly in the answer, exhausted is the synonym of tired. Similarly, depressed is the synonym of sad. So this concludes today's lecture. Thank you.